Hello, welcome to this sort of Get Ender Pearls with Woot. I'm going to try to talk about some of the stuff you might want to do. There is actually a manual for the mod which goes through it pretty clearly. So yeah, so you need a Yar hammer and dies, and they are returned back to you, and that's it. So yeah, so you can get this Yar hammer. And it's used to make, for instance, with the plate die. This is one of the. It only uses for that. That will get you some under iron plates. You also need to get the prism die, which takes an ender pearl. That will get you an eye of ender. These are pretty crucial things. And if we can see here, we use the dies. With the under iron, which is from the mesh die there, and the hammer, and we can use that to make this thing, the mob prism. And essentially what you do with the mob prism is you just left click on a mob, and I did it with an Enderman, and what it will do is it will tell you what tier kind of structure you need. So here I've got a tier 1 structure, and it's basically a combination of these grey factory blocks, which require the casing, which comes from the casing one, the grey and the red ones as well, which again require the factory casing. So we've got that there. Other than that, we have these cap blocks. So we've actually got one there, tier 1 capstone. So you can see just with factory cap, which requires the connector, which requires the connector die and a bit of nether quartz as well. So you do really need to go to the nether before you do any of this, like most things. Iron plated skulls, which can be a combination of any skulls. And yeah, like I say, obsidian is not used. So you get the capstones there. And then there are 2 additional blocks here. The first one is this guy. This is the well, there's basically there's a factory and the controller. So tier 1 you can see is going to cost 80 RF. So if we look at the tier 1 here, you can see it's a combination. Well, it depends. Yeah, it depends how you want to do it, I guess. But you do need to have these connectors, and you can see these require the shards, which come from the shard die. So yeah. But yeah, you can see, so for instance, that looks like it's a tier 4 capstone. It's actually not. I believe it's the controller. Yeah, so you basically have the mob controller, which you're always going to have again using that connector and some factory casing with some glass. And then what you simply do is, yeah, you just need the controller, like I say, and the factory. And what you would do is originally you would have the layout block placed there. You would swap out the layout block once you've completed the structure, because you see what happens with the layout block, which I suppose I haven't really shown, is that is if you had the layout block wherever you put it, right, it will actually let me just do it like this. You have to have it 1 above. So you can see the structure, and then you simply right click and to get tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4. And each mob, you see here that the Enderman is actually the Enderman is tier 3, so you can't just do a tier 1 Enderman. Basically, the mob is intrinsically linked to the tier spawner you have. So that way you couldn't just make a very simple tier a tier 1 spawner for Enderman, because otherwise it would be too cheap. You have to use and these factory blocks, for instance, once we get to the Enderman blocks, so we would need to use the tier 2 ones, which would be with blaze powder, more factory casing, and then the tier 3 blocks, which will be the green ones. They require ender pearls, and we need and you know, too long didn't read. 64 ender pearls required to actually have a proper spawner, to even create this spawner. Alright, so the next thing then to notice is that you have to put in the power at the bottom. So basically, like I say, you just replace that layout block with the factory thing, and then the mob controller on top, and then I believe, yeah, and then you just right click on it with the it's either right click or left click. I think it's probably right click with the appropriate mob prism, right? So I couldn't use this one on here because it's only tier 1, but I used a cow on this. So I think if we just see here, we can see spawning cow, spawning one mob. So it's simply a case of powering it up. Output comes out the front, and there is actually a transvector interface type block as well for extra power. So let's have a look. This should be running already, actually. Let's see if we're going to get anything in the chest. I believe it outputs directly to the front of it, right? There we go. So you can see it's starting to output items. Now, of course, it's quite slow outputting. There are upgrades as well. And that's basically how that works. Now, for instance, if we look over here, there's multiple different ways, aren't there, to spawn mobs. If you're starting a game, it's a problem that I've been thinking about. Like, for instance, you might want to do something like this. This is actually probably quite a handy way to get. The thing is, right, you need to have enough ender pearls. Here we've got a tier 3 structure. This is before it's formed. That one was actually when it was formed. So there's different ways, of course. You can use the soul binder with the powered spawner system. And you may also want to consider telepads, matter transporter to get to and from the end, because you don't actually have to kill the dragon. If you need end stone for this, you know, you might not have to kill the dragon, stuff like that. You can have a farm. And it does, you see, you only use 0.1 ender pearls, so you get 10 per ender pearl. So that's going to be very easy to get the amount you need for these green blocks here. I've actually filled in the whole lot, but I didn't do the capstones. I've just seen that. But yeah, the die is pretty useful, mainly for this guy, the prism die thing. Yeah. So let's. So I'm going to need those capstones, aren't I? So we've got a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 capstone. So we need 5 of them for the 3rd tier altar. I may actually just pop into create for this, because it's just going to take a little bit less time to do that. Okay, so I'll do that. So we can just put the capstones here. And basically each tier they won't require a capstone, so this doesn't require any other capstones. Okay, so hopefully I've built this correctly. So now what I would do is, I think everything should be correct. Let's see if we can get it to work then. So we'll get the factory block, mob factory, yeah. So like I said before, we swap out this guy, and we put the factory block where that was, and then we put the mob controller on top. So we've got the. Do I still have that mob prism? I do. So we just, and you can see it just automatically updated what it looked like. So that means that I've built it correctly. And we can see that it's going to do exactly the same thing. So again, just put the chest in front. It might be here a while. I'll probably get there pretty quickly. Just look for the gap, I guess. Have I gone too far? Oh yeah, no, that's right, because it's here. Okay, so yeah, we can put that there. And yeah, and that's a very yeah, that's basically how you do the spawning system. Not much more to it than that. But yeah, may as well just go into survival. Oh, yeah, there are various different things like the extender block. The other, yeah, let me just wait till actually. I would like to just see the first ender pearl come in. So let's see if we can get it. Of course, it may not actually get an ender pearl. That's the thing, isn't it? So let's briefly then just look at some of the other blocks, because I'm not going to go through them here, because I want to keep the video fairly short. And maybe while I'm doing this, there's a chance the ender pearl will actually come in. But yeah. But you can see you get various. You can see what you need to do each. And then the tier 4 as well is for the wither boss as well. And it's going to require even more expensive blocks. We'll might look at those as well. Yeah, so there's this proxy block, like I say, like the transvector interface. So yeah, it may be that it's not. Yeah, we should be getting enough throughput there. And there's these various different things you see to increase the. You've even got blood magic interaction as well. So for the well of suffering, you could use that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, you can see. So even if I don't get any drops, it's because I haven't really put any of these upgrades in. But yeah, that's the sort of next stage. Is this whole kind of. Yeah, I haven't got any, but rest assured they are going to come in at some point. But I do need to get the upgrades on. But yeah, I mean, not really much more else I can say. I guess I did show the other one, but I mean, every 320 ticks. That should really get me one, shouldn't it, by now? Yeah, it is draining 400 ticks. 400 RF per tick. There we go. Thanks for watching.